Hello, I'm Arnold Smit. I'm the head of the Center for Business and Society at USB Executive Development, where we work with companies, organizations and communities around sustainability and responsible leadership issues. This morning we are doing a summary of a book that was lately published by Peter Senge, The Necessary Revolution, a book full of hopeful stories about companies in particular who realized that we need to create a new future, and who have brought other people with them and came up with very innovative solutions. Peter Senge has been crowned almost at the end of the previous century as the strategist of the century. Senge did important work, significant work, with regards to understanding how do we create a learning organization. How do we help people to venture through, to journey through change? What is it that we need to understand about individual and collective behavior when people are confronted with change, with innovation, with doing different and new things? The first story is the story about transport coming from Sweden. And what is happening in the Sweden market at the moment is that Sweden is really the country up front in the industry where oil counts only for 30% of the energy, 15% of cars run on ethanol, and all the major manufacturers in Sweden now have models available that are hybrid types of vehicles. The second story is the story of aligning the built environment in the United States. If global carbon emissions were currency, most of the money could be found in our office buildings, malls, hotels, factories, apartment buildings, and homes. And what resulted from that was two things. The one was the US Green Building Council, and the other was a standard that they developed, what was referred to as the Leadership in Energy and Environmental Design. Again, small group of people seeing a different reality, moving on, bringing others in, creating a standard in an industry that we will all gain from in the years to come. The third story is a story about a kind of an unconventional partnership. Because if we say Coca-Cola on the one hand, we might see a lot of challenges with regards to water, with regards to transportation, with regards to a certain product that the world is in love with. If we see WWF, we know that we're actually working with an activist NGO specifically focused on environmental protection. They realized something very significant, which came out of their relationship with WWF. And the end result of it is a vision where Neville Isdell said we should not cause more water to be removed from a watershed than what we replenish. And that has become the standard for Coke in terms of where they are moving to with regards to water and their future as a company. If we look at what Peter Senge is writing in the next 2 decades, it is estimated that water use by humans will increase by about 40%. And that 17% more water will be needed to grow food for a growing population. Why? Why the case for change? In the old paradigm, in the current industrial age paradigm that we largely still sit with in terms of how we produce and consume, we extract and harvest from our natural resources, incorporate that into our production processes, and eventually, in terms of goods in use, there's waste from extraction and manufacturing going into the environment. There is waste from use going into the environment, and there is waste from what we throw away afterwards, packaging, etc., that goes into the environment. So what's happening here is that as we extract on the one side, we spill waste back into the environment without even thinking about it. If we then say that CO2 in the atmosphere is like a bathtub where we put CO2 in terms of our fossil fuel burning, what is happening is that we keep on pouring about 8 billion tons of CO2 emissions into the bathtub at the moment. The outflow in terms of the Earth's ability to process what we then put back in terms of waste, in terms of CO2 emissions. The Earth's ability is about 3 billion tons that could be absorbed by the land and the oceans. So what is actually happening is that the level of the bath in terms of CO2 emissions is increasing by 5 billion tons per year at the moment. He then goes further and says that what we are sitting with are our mental models of the industrial age. Now, what is a mental model? But the mental models that I would like to highlight in terms of what he's describing in the book is the mental model that there will always be enough room to dispose of all our waste. The other mental model, which is probably the one that is the most serious of them all, is that we are sort of looking at ourselves as being the primary species on Earth. And then the last one that I would like to highlight is that economic growth and rising GDP are the best way to lift all boats and reduce social inequities. What's wrong with that mental model? What is the reality what we see? The gap between rich and poor keeps on increasing by the day. He then asks for a new mental model. A mental model in which we learn how to live within our energy income. Another one that he highlights is zero to landfill. In other words, make everything recyclable, remanufacturable, and compostable. In other words, think differently about what we produce and how we produce it. Another one is we are borrowing the future from our children, and we have to pay it back. We are only one of nature's wonders, not the only one, and not the epitome of the wonders, only one. Value the earth's services. They come free of charge to those who treasure them. Embrace variety, build community. And then finally, in the global village, there is only one boat, and the whole sinks us all. Only one boat, and the whole sinks us all. We breathe the same air, we live from the same soil, we're influenced by the same climate systems. A whole will sink us all. So if we look at our societal needs, for instance, in terms of energy, transportation, and food, and we can increase the list, there are two ways in which we can go about it. The one is that as we are confronted with more and more of these challenges with regards to food security, water, transportation, energy, and so forth, we can keep on working with short-term fixes. And we can keep on coming forward with more take, make, and waste solutions. Our problems accumulate at a faster rate at the moment than our ability to come up with solutions. But the solutions will not sit there. The solutions will sit here, regenerative solutions that will contribute towards making all life flourish. So the question is now, if this is the case, what is the way forward? Where do we start? Where do we start? The first thing that Peter highlights is to say that we will have to change our mental model. The current mental model is a model in which we say that the economy is the overriding reality. We will have to exchange it for a mental model where we realize that the environment is actually the boundaries within which we live. The environment makes available to us the food that we need to eat, the energy that we need to fuel our industries, to warm up our homes, etc., etc. And the economy is an expression of how we manage the budget of the environment with regards to sustainable living and a positive and hopeful future. The second thing that he says is that we need to see the business rationale. And what very often happens in businesses is that they start right here, being more reactive and drive compliance-based strategies, which is fine. It's a good starting place. But at the same time, it would be a pity if we stay within non-compliance or compliance and just have reactive responses and do not move into that space, a more proactive space beyond compliance. The third indication that he gives is with regards to Stuart Hart's work, Capitalism at the Crossroads. Stuart Hart says if we want to take sustainability serious, we need to create what he calls a sustainable value portfolio. And in such a portfolio, yes, you realize that you need to secure today's business whilst working on tomorrow's strategies. On the other side, you know that you need to manage your relationship with the external environment, with society, with your stakeholders. We also realize that there is there's a different challenge waiting on us, and that is how to engage with the base of the pyramid. Moving on and taking it into your business, he says that there are 3 essential capabilities that we need to develop. The ability to see systems. We need to develop the ability to collaborate across boundaries, and we need to be able to create a desired future. And how do we do that? We need to take the old industrial paradigm, as described previously, and figure out how we can what we can do with the waste forthcoming from production and turn that into synergistic production systems where the waste of the one industry or business becomes the input of the next one. Collaborating across boundaries as a second strategy, what he refers to there is what he describes as getting the whole system in the room. That's what happened in the 3 stories. People are inspired by what they are able to design together and the future that they can create together. Another thing that you need to be able to do is how to see reality through the eyes of someone else. How do I journey into your space, and how do you journey into my space? And then also, how do we build shared commitment? But what Otto Scharmer is saying is that we need, in these processes, we need to move below the structural level of change. We need to drill down to open will, the ability to make new decisions and to venture forward together. And this is where the idea of a learning journey is coming from. This is where if you want to develop base of the pyramid strategies, you go to the base of the pyramid. I need to get into your space. You need to get into my space. We need to gather into spaces that we've not been confronted with before to see reality through the eyes of others, because inevitably this is where unique solutions and innovative opportunities will be coming from. Then he says that if we do this, if we take a rubber band, if we do this, and this is my vision, and this is reality, I can release the tension here by either doing this or by doing that. I can either say, let the vision accommodate reality in the sense of lowering the vision because this is difficult work. Or I can say, I can do this and I can move reality. By doing and following these principles, I can move reality in the direction of the vision. And finally, he says, redesign your organization to fit the requirements of the future. You want alignment, or you can either be in a position where the environment changes and you are left with a disaligned organization and strategy, or your strategy and the environment changes, but you are left with a disaligned company in terms of the environment and strategy change, but the design does not follow. I would like to end off with what I think is the value of the book. Maybe 3 things. I think the one value of the book is that it's connecting sustainability with systems thinking and build the case for change from there. I think it's emphasizing the importance of collaboration and co-creation. And then I do think that the last one is inspiring hope through highlighting positive stories of change. We are a young species who, uncertain of our niche, has very recently, in a virtual second of life's day on Earth, expanded to fill the world. In a sense, we are like teenagers, full of enthusiasm and energy, and more than a bit of confused. And like every teenager must, we are about to discover that we are not the center of the universe, not even the center of life on this planet. We are but one of millions, and our merit depends not on our ego, but on our contribution. Thank you. Thank you.